This is Respectfully Outrageous with Nathan and Ben.
Today we're talking about concussions, Beth Mullen calling NFL games, and the new overtime rules.
Hope you enjoy it. So recently we learned that apparently, according to his wife, Tom Brady had a concussion last year in the 2016 NFL season. What are your thoughts on concussions in general?
That's a huge question. To handle the Tom Brady thing first, I have heard that according to his team's doctor, who is renowned through the NFL circles, Tom Brady had no concussions that season, or has any concussions on his official record. But that creates kind of this problem because his wife sounds to be this trustworthy source and lives with Tom Brady, says he has a concussion, and the doctor says he doesn't. Now, I'm not saying that there's a concussion gate in New England, but I'm kind of surprised that in New England anything that's remotely controversial can come out, and concussions are very controversial. But I don't know if he actually had a concussion. I don't think he would, because I think Robert Kraft generally cares about players' health. I think he would pull him. But I think Giselle isn't lying either. I think she's more of just a worried wife and wants her husband home so she can do stuff with him when they're 100, as she has said. But to the point about what I think about concussions, I don't like concussions. I've never had a concussion. And I think the NFL should take steps to limit concussions as much as possible without making football to 11 guys in a balloon.
You did, I don't know if you saw this, but also the NFL is starting to implement new helmets, a new variant of helmets. We'll start seeing that in the preseason. I don't know if every team has accepted it, but I think at least 20, have implemented that helmet. So that I hope that that has a good benefit or good effect on the players, because concussions are a big issue. I mean, if you think about it, the science behind it, your brain hits your skull.
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot for the brain. That hurts. So you
And
don't know
that
what you're going to
slosh back
cause.
in the
Exactly.
head is destructive to brain tissue, which is terrible because it can cause players to lose and not remember things.
CTEs,
CETs.
as we've seen with some popular NFL legends. Because concussions can really cause a lot of issues. And it's when you have a concussion, you can't do much. I mean, because you can't focus, because everything you do gives you a huge headache.
Which you need, especially at the quarterback position. And Brett Favre has come out saying he can't remember things. And if you're a quarterback, you need to remember the playbook. You need to remember your checkdowns, your offensive protections, and all these scheme things. And you can't be getting up and being fuzzy. So I'm glad that these NFL teams have taken steps to limit concussions as much as possible. We saw this, or I heard about this at Texas, where they've started using concussions, not using concussions, but using special helmets to monitor and watch the impact so that they know when a player has received so much force that the coaches can go, okay, this player has received so much force, we can pull him. And it's something that's important. Now, I don't want them to completely, utterly change and manipulate the game so that football is not football anymore because of injuries. I think injuries are part of the game. It's sad. It's terrible that they're part of the game, but that's the way it is.
And people realize that risk. The players realize that risk. And, I mean, if you look at Calvin Johnson, he retired because he had enough with injuries, and he didn't want to. And he realized that, I don't want to deal with these injuries anymore.
I think it's also his playing style. How you play the position can determine how much injuries. Because Calvin Johnson was a very physical receiver.
Yes.
Great separation in his routes. Went up high point of the ball over numerous defenders.
There was plenty of knee issues, back issues, groin injuries. I mean,
he got hit because at 6'5", what was he listed at, 230, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
But if you're a 5'11" corner trying to cover him, you got to go for the knees to take him out.
I mean, I don't know if there was ever a week where he wasn't questionable or
something like that.
Doubtful,
questionable, might not return, injury, IR. We've seen it all. And then he'd come back for some games. He'd miss some games in the season. I don't remember the last full season he played.
Yeah, But that's just one of the issues of injuries. I mean, because it can really devastate a career, and I think Calvin realized, I can't keep this up if I want a life after football.
Right.
And honestly, that's what Tom Brady's wife was saying about, I want him to be around after football.
To be a father.
Yeah.
To be a leader in the community and do all these things. And I think Tom is going to be a terrific father. I think he already has been a terrific father. And I think she's wrong in saying that if there's a concussion, unless she knows there's a concussion, I don't know if there's a concussion. But to say that there's a concussion is a huge deal. To say that there's a head injury sounds better. But don't say there's concussion because it creates all this turmoil and all these rumors coming out of New England because it's a rumor factory in New England.
And something I've noticed, the term concussion has really gained it's not as a severe connotation as it used to be.
Right.
Like now it's just like, oh yeah, I got a concussion.
Yeah, I got concussion.
But in really, concussions are bad.
They're huge.
They're almost as bad as breaking your leg. It's.
I hear sports god commentators talking about it like he got hit so hard he looked concussed, which is a good adjective, but it's not true because if you were concussed, you wouldn't be standing up. You'd have a hard time with the lights. You'd have huge headaches.
Do you remember Luke Kuechly?
Oh yes, I remember
that
Kuechly.
game. I mean, he
had no idea.
Scared.
He had no idea where he was. I genuinely thought he went brain dead. I was genuinely fearful of Luke Kuechly's health. Luke Kuechly is the heart and soul of the Carolina Panthers defense. He's a terrific linebacker, intelligent, and he sat down on the field after he tackled Mark Ingram, and I don't think he knew he was in Bank of America Stadium. I don't think he knew.
I don't even know
what he was thinking.
I don't. And I remember actually. I mean, this is kind of a sad point, but it's kind of similar to Ricardo Lockett in Seattle.
Wasn't it Jeff Heath that took him out? It wasn't a take out like a dirty play.
No,
I'm not going after the Cowboys.
It was just what happened. But I don't remember if it was a spine. Was it a spine issue?
I think it was a high neck.
Collarbone.
Because it was on a special teams play, and he got hit up here.
And he said he didn't know what he was thinking.
No, he didn't
I'm
know.
sure he had head injuries from that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they disclosed all that. But similarly, I mean, Luke Kuechly, he did not look well at all.
No, he didn't look well.
And concussions are...
Didn't not return for the rest of the season. I don't know if he's going to be the same guy.
I hope he is.
I hope he comes back better, stronger. But I don't know if he's going to be the same guy. And I think concussions can ruin a game. They can ruin lives. They have ruined lives. They should be limited as much as possible. But I don't want people to get rid of kickoff returns or punt returns because those are some of the most exciting plays in football. But
because there is a balance point between working to create better helmets to limit concussions and completely getting rid of elements of the game.
Right.
Because kick returns and punt returns, special teams, we can just call them special teams. Those plays, they're not super important, but if you look at when Devin Hester,
super important,
when he returned it,
that's the chaff the Chiefs' offense is Tyreek Hill.
No, I'm just saying that's the argument of the NFL and the fact that the injuries outweigh it. But these players know the risk of the injury, so why get rid of them if they know the risk?
If you take out kickoff returns, punt coverage, kickoff coverage, what is Matthew Slater supposed to do on the Patriots? Because he's not going to make the wide receiver core with Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks, all these other guys. He's not going to make the team without special teams, without a special teams contributor. He's been a Pro Bowler in this. He's very good at that refined role. Devin Hester would not make would not make the Bears starting right roster as a receiver or as a corner. What's he supposed to do?
If they remove special teams, he's not supposed to do anything.
No, he's not supposed to.
Because he's not going to make the roster, so he'd get cut, and that skill would be unrecognized. And
I think it would completely wreck the football game. I think it would make it less entertaining, which would hurt ratings, which the NFL can't afford to do right now.
The Pro Bowl, they don't do kickoffs in the Pro Bowl, correct? No. That's really boring because they always start at the same spot.
Right.
Because the point of it, because then the kicker almost seems irrelevant.
Well, I mean, they use them for field goals.
Well, I understand,
extra points.
But people want a good kicker to pin the offense back, right?
I mean, part of the draw on a kickoff is if you have a good coverage team like New England, you can kick it and have a good kicker. You pin it down the field, and then you have someone run down the field and try to pin him on a punt with the Colts with Pat McAfee. you can try to pin him inside the goal line. It's like a game with the special teams. It's a game within itself. With Marquette King, you try, because he can kick it as far as he needs to kick it. Can you get down there and cover it? That's another game. It's another dimension of football that I think makes this game so great. But if you try to take that away, it adds some of that flair, that vibrant taste that people have come to love.
And I can see why they want to get rid of it just for the subtle aspect of injuries. But in reality, Teddy Bridgewater, in practice, no contact whatsoever,
Right.
did something terrible to his knee that had nothing to do with a kickoff or any sort of special teams play. Did it? No.
No.
It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, when you get 300-pound D tackles coming in and sacking, like, Andrew Luck, and they're just beating these guys up, how is that any different than a special teams play?
Well, I think, to your point, is the problem with special teams is you have 11 players blocking. You have 10 players blocking, 1 player kicking, and 10 players running at each other. So you're going to have a guy that's going to return the kick and a guy that's going to kick the ball. So basically, the kicker can hit. It's rare, but it can happen. So you have 10 people trying to hit one guy, and you have 10 people blocking that one guy. And that's where the injuries, because people are running down the field as fast as they can to try to pin them, and there are people trying to set up blocks, and that's where those hits occur.
But the risk of injuries, I wouldn't say, isn't increased in special teams plays.
I would disagree with that.
I mean, there is a chance, but there's so much more can happen during the game as well.
Good point. I mean, I think example of that would be if you threw the ball to the slot receiver over the middle.
And he just,
Gets taken
Cam
out.
Chancellor, just
Cam
boom.
takes Edelman's head off. It happens all the time. It's a problem. But the quarterback can look off the safety and throw it into the middle of the field. Or he can reroute it so that there's a tight end with a pick and draw the...
But to be fair, also, the special team returners can fair catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it go out the end zone, whatever. Just let it go. There are options, just like you were saying with the quarterback. I mean, there are ways to avoid it without completely getting rid of it.
I mean, fair catching is kind of a energy killer because you get to see this great spiraling punt. Guy standing under it. Oh, he's like, okay, he's going to take this one back. Are you kidding me? Fair catch? Are you kidding me? But ways you can get, not even if you fair catch it, there's the guys that are blocking. They can deliver these hits. And we've seen players do the fair catch and get hit. Or the special teams guys that are on the kicking team try to pin him and catch it. And the guy that's supposed to catch it takes their head off. Like we saw in the game, was it the year before where Amendola took the guy's head off? Was it against the Chiefs? It was the
I think so, yeah.
Chiefs the year before in the divisional playoffs. And Amendola absolutely destroyed someone on the Chiefs special teams trying to field the punt.
But what the point I'm getting at is injuries are a part of football.
Yes.
I mean that it makes makes the game what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to wear pads.
Isn't there an NFL rule now? Because back then there was a point where you didn't have to wear thigh pads, and you see these guys wearing D linemen didn't wear thigh pads. Running backs we all wearing all these different thigh pads like John Riggins, these old bruising running backs, and some of them wore thigh pads, some of them didn't, and it kind of made the running backs unique if they did or they didn't. But now I think you have to wear a certain number of pads. I don't think you have to be like Eric Dickerson or Adrian Peterson having all these arm things in your arm, these rubber pads, and looking like Barry Sanders with your big flak jacket jiggling as you're running on the field. I don't think you have to have all those pads, but I think there's a certain number of pads that you must wear.
And that's a good precaution.
Yes.
I mean, it's a way to combat that injury risk, but that still doesn't eliminate the risk altogether. And that's part of the issue with the concussions is, you never know when they can happen. They can happen to someone jumping on a trampoline outside and they fall on their head. It's just
right.
You can't completely eliminate the risk.
Right, but you can take steps to limit that risk. You can play it safer.
Without destroying the game and the game process.
I think it's unfair for offenses and people that are officiating the game to expect the defense to change how they play defense, which is intimidation, hard-hitting players playing by the rules like Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Earl Thomas, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. To expect them to change their philosophy about defense so that offensive players can play the way they want to play the game, like Julian Edelman, Marshawn Lynch, LeGarrette Blount. these guys that want to take on contact and expect the defense to change around them, I think that's not fair.
Well, that's not fair, and because then you move the game toward an offensive
which
league.
it's become over the years, and it's kind of, I think that's why ratings have gone down, because it's become such this offensively dominant league. Not only with the tight ends, with the running backs, but you can't cover, you can't hold these guys, you can't touch them down the field. So
Yeah, only 5 yards, and
the press thing, it's made it harder for corners. So I think there's going to be, if you want really to fix concussions, force quarterbacks to throw guys open. Force quarterbacks to look off safeties and not so they don't get cleaned up. Make the receivers understand where the defense is going to be so they don't get clocked trying to catch a slam pattern by a linebacker. Force them to understand it, because receivers should say, okay, I'm the guy running down the field. I'm going to run into their zone, catch the ball, and I'm going to expect to get hit. It should be the receiver's responsibility to keep himself safe, not the linebacker's job to go, okay, I have to watch my zone, watch the running back, watch the quarterback spot, and I have to fake blitz, and I have to make sure I don't tackle this guy too hard. That's wrong. That's wrong.
I mean, going back to your, the receiver knows the risk part. Like, I should expect to get hit. And that's part of the game, too. I mean, some NFL teams bring in baseball guys to teach quarterbacks how to slide.
Yep.
Right? Because they know that people are going to hit the quarterback, and the quarterbacks are not built for that.
Well, Joe Flacco still does not know how to slide.
Neither does Stafford. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is, part of the game, the process, is to try and avoid those huge hits.
Which ruined RG3.
Right, because RG3 just
could not slide.
He
would
went
try to
for
slide
it
too
all.
late, and it just, I've seen some of the hits. They're horrifying. Looks like a horror movie.
Yeah,
And it's not the defensive fault. He's still running with the ball, and then he tries to slide late, and the guy's already in the air. That's what happens with the LaMarcus Joyner Vikings incident. It wasn't a cheap shot. The guy jumped, and then Teddy Bridgewater tried to slide late. It wasn't a cheap shot. And
so the point being, there are ways to prevent, not necessarily prevent, but limit the amount of injuries.
Yes.
With outside factors, and I mean, people work on it in practice too, and limited exposure. I mean, if you're at practice, if you're working with pads like big dummies, tackle dummies, I mean, those work. You're probably not going to get too many injuries. Right.
I think one thing that the NFL has tried to do to limit concussions is limiting the number of padded practices to like 1 a week, I believe it is. Or like they have 3 in the offseason, something like that.
Right.
But some coaches like more physical practices. I think pads or no pads is not necessarily the problem. I think it's how you play the game.
Right, but
Because there's ways of playing quarterback safe. Because Peyton Manning takes sacks. There's ways of throwing the ball away. You got to teach guys not to hit the quarterback after he throws the football. But that's also
part of the issue too. I mean, if you look at Andrew Luck can't afford to just throw it away because his team's not good, and that's a luxury of Peyton Manning as well, as he knew his defense could hold up.
Yeah,
and that's part of the game too, because
it's all strategy.
As soon as you have more luxuries once you have more you have more options if you have a solid defense or solid offense and you can count on something, and that therefore eliminates a lot less injuries. I mean, Andrew Luck had like a bruised kidney, a punctured, I don't know if it was
punctured lung? I think it was punctured lung.
Or punctured kidney was one of the two, but bruised lung, bruised kidney, something. But he kept playing.
Which is just kind of...
Because, I mean, he's like the only one that can play on that team.
Besides T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton can play.
T.Y. Hilton's great.
Vontae Davis can ball.
Yes.
Mike Adams was balling at an old age.
But...
Don't start hating on Mike Adams.
I'm not hating on Mike Adams.
Don't.
But Andrew Luck can't throw it to T.Y. Hilton every single time. Because T.Y. Hilton's not that tall.
Then throw it to Dante Moncrief.
He was injured for half the season last year.
Then throw it to... what's his name? The tight end for the Colts. Very forgettable. What's his name? It's not...
It was Dwayne Allen.
It's Dwayne Allen. He's in New England.
That was their tight end. But the point being, the more solid your team is...
He went to Stanford. Who was he? Anyway.
It doesn't matter.
Don't matter.
The point is, the better your team is, the more options you have to almost avoid injuries almost. I mean, there are going to be times you're going to slip, you're going to sprain your ankle, whatever. Someone's going to hit you, you're in the leg area, who knows. But I mean, like you said with Peyton Manning, he knew when to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Because he knew, hey, well, my defense can work if it doesn't work.
I can't outrun anybody. I'm just gonna
Exactly,
get
and if I keep the ball,
I'm gonna get hit.
I'm not gonna stay in this game.
Right.
Right? And so he did what was best for the team and himself because he knew that the other side of the team would help him out as well.
And there's another thing, like Tom Brady was the year that he got injured, was he got hit below the knee. And that's what caused a rule change. To protecting quarterbacks in the knees.
Right, yeah.
So I think that's an important rule change. Defensive players hated it. But I think there needs to be some rule changes that hurt offenses equally so that defenses, they finally level the playing field.
Right, they got to make sure that the game's equal.
Yep.
While still making an effort to avoid
injuries
such as concussions.
Yep, and preserving special teams.
Mm-hmm. Right. Preserve the game as much as you can and eliminate as much injuries as
if you can preserve the game, you can also preserve players' health, which will preserve the product and the product's ratings.
Which is the goal of the NFL, right? Yeah. Business and customer satisfaction.
It's more about the money.
I mean, business. That's money. Yeah. But yeah, so any last thoughts on concussions?
It was a good movie by Will Smith.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I watched that. Go see it.
So recently, ESPN announced that Beth Mowins will become the first female broadcaster in more than 30 years. I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on this.
I know there's been some controversy, specifically with you, that this candidate, female broadcaster, is not that good, and you don't think that she should be broadcasting. Is that what you believe?
Those are some of the words I would say. Let me be very clear. I think women should be given every chance to broadcast equally as males. So this is not going to be sexist. But as from a broadcasting standpoint, I find her voice hard to listen to. She says good things. It's not like she's not intelligent. She obviously isn't intelligent.
It's the wow factor.
It's the wow factor. She kind of lulls you to sleep. I've listened to her talk about numerous Vikings games, Gopher games, Clemson games, Alabama games. I just find her voice bland, mediocre. It's kind of turn the volume down a little bit in a sense that do we really want her going to the next level in the NFL? Because in the NFL, we already have some great commentators. Chris Collinsworth.
Al Michaels,
John Gruden.
Troy
Aikman. We're now getting Tony Romo. Jay Cutler. It seems to be a little crowded. Everyone's getting on the bandwagon of broadcasting. It's getting a little crowded. I'm not saying she's getting on the bandwagon, but she's been broadcasting. She's been with ESPN since 1994. She's been there for a while. So, the timing's a little sketchy for me. It's a little spotty. She wouldn't be my first choice as a candidate. But I also have a problem because Rex Ryan is this new commentator. I love his personality. Players love Rex. Fans love Rex because Rex freaks out. It's great TV. And John Gruden did the Monday Night Football thing. Or was it Thursday Night Football? I think it was Thursday Night Football. And, he had this staple of Thursday Night Football. And what better way than have two very passionate, very loud former coaches talking about the game together in a booth. And then instead you put Beth Mowins. Not saying she's bad. I personally don't feel her as exciting as someone you go, ooh, to be excited over a play. And I kind of feel her voice kind of deteriorates from the gameplay a little bit.
And, to be fair, we have not heard her do an actual NFL game yet.
Right.
So, we can't make a ton of assumptions right now. And, again, I am also with you. I am not against women having less of a chance than males. I believe that they should have an equal chance. And like you said, it could just be her. I don't like Joe Buck. And
I don't like Joe Buck either.
For me, he doesn't have that wow factor, that TV factor. That one that's going to appeal people. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we haven't seen Beth on
the NFL.
On the NFL games yet. So,
and all the things I've said have been based
solely.
And specifically on the few college games I've heard her speak. Granted, the Gophers playing Michigan is kind of a doozer. I'll be honest with you. It's going to be a blowout. It was an odd game to be close, but kind of, not to be redundant, but I feel like certain people are naturally gifted at making themes seem more exciting than they really are. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have her unique charm, because some people obviously find her entertaining, and that's why she's still with ESPN. But for me personally, she doesn't have that that TV gold like Tim Tebow had at ESPN college football, like that it that makes you go, you know what? I'm excited for Alabama to take on Texas. I'm excited for this. When you're listening to her, you're like, okay, we get it. It's third down. Why aren't you sounding like this is a big deal? So
I mean, the point is, she gets the facts across, right?
Right.
She conveys well to the audience,
she's accurate.
but what you're saying is you want a little more. You want stuff beyond the game. And, like, for instance, if you look at Troy Aikman, he's got experience with the game, and often he brings experience from his playing days into the booth, which is great. Because a lot of people don't know, and it's kind of cool to listen to some of his facts like that. And
It's also cool because he was a guy that played quarterback for America's team to explain like all the different subtle nuances of like what might Dak actually be thinking, because he was there on a 3rd and 5 when the defense is showing blitz against the Eagles. He was there.
yeah, and so I mean, we haven't seen her in this NFL situation. Do we know if she's gonna go straight to the booth?
I do believe she will call the Monday night game between the Chargers and somebody else, the LA Chargers.
Okay.
So
I mean,
she will be partnered with Rex Ryan.
with ESPN.
Yes, she's
Okay,
she's
so
with
Monday
ESPN.
nights. Okay. So, I don't... Will she mix well with Rex Ryan? That's another thing.
Rex Ryan's got this premium personality. And I love me some Rex Ryan. I love his passion. I love his love of the game. I love how he says things. Now, the problem is, we're going to have to see a clean Rex Ryan,
Right.
which is going to be disappointing.
Well, and that... Beth could also help with that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of limit Rex Ryan a little bit. And that might be why they brought her on.
I think that's what they did, because Rex Ryan's not saying like Rex Ryan's like the John Madden of coaches, but John Madden had a personality. Once John Madden starts going, he's going. And the other guy just steps out of the way and lets John Madden be John Madden. But he also was very accurate with his facts. He said what he needed to say in a very direct way of saying it, which he does, to her credit. And John Madden can give you all the color. He gives you the color. She gives you how it is. And I think if they're trying to go with that, that might work. Because he's not John Madden, but Rex Ryan's going to give you that color that I was looking for, that attention that people get excited for. And she's going to give you the facts of the analytics of the game.
And that might be good. We don't
That might not be good.
And so, I mean, it's something to think about. And I'm excited to see what that happens. But
I'm excited.
we haven't seen a lot of Beth, so I don't understand why you're. I mean, I can understand, but I don't know why you're already ruling her out and that she shouldn't be in it anyway.
I'm not saying that she shouldn't be given a chance. She's been working with ESPN for a long time. She's been loyal. But I just don't think, of all the great broadcasters there are in college football, she gets moved up. I'm not hating on her. I'm just saying.
Well, but maybe that's because they want to keep the really good college ones in college.
Right.
Like, because that's part of it, too. Because you want to make sure that college is still appealing. ESPN does, because they want to still make money. They want to get viewers. So, this could have just been more than she's been loyal. I mean, it could have been a strategic move. Maybe she wanted to go up. Maybe she didn't really want to do much more college football.
I mean, from what I understood from the article on the Score and the ESPN, I looked at it again. It also seemed like she has been doing other things, not just college football, but some other sporting events as well. So I think maybe they're spreading her out, making her more versatile, not making her exclusively a college football and something else. Maybe they're branching her out so that they're not going to use her as much in college football. But it also,
maybe that's good. Maybe
a change of scenery
because
might help her.
It might, yeah, and maybe like you said, she doesn't have that wow factor, but maybe if you just see her every once in a while in a couple games,
right,
it's not all that bad.
No, it's not.
And I mean, we won't know until
right.
she calls the game, but I don't know. It's interesting. I personally have not listen to any of her things,
Right.
any of her games. But again, I do like that wow factor.
Yeah.
I really do. And Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, they don't really have a great wow factor, but it's Sunday Night Football, right?
And it'd be awkward if he's turned on Sunday Night Football and the Cowboys and the Giants are playing, and you didn't hear Al Michaels' voice. Be like, "What happened to Al Michaels? Is he okay?"
And
You'd be worried.
that's
You'd be
just
worried.
tradition. I mean, it's like it's the system. And honestly, that combo, because when you start to get a little sick and tired of Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth comes in.
Yep.
I mean, their timing's great. They have it all down to a science. It's really good. And maybe they're gonna try and get Beth into that as well with Rex Ryan, because who knows? They could make a great tandem. We don't know.
Rex Ryan's been new to this. She's experienced the college, all the sports, and then she's going to the NFL. So she's going to be kind of a newbie, but she knows what she's doing. She knows the game. And Rex Ryan obviously knows the game as a coach. And to have them up there, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting lab project.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you say that you don't think she should. Do you think she should still be in like calling NFL games, or do you think she should go back to college, or what's your thought on what?
I don't think she should be fired. I just don't find her appealing. I'm not saying she's not good at what she does. She's obviously good at what she does. She gets what she's doing right. She knows the players, so she must means she does research and all this stuff. She understands the game. I think she's also a tremendous trailblazer. But I don't really find her as someone that I listen to. Like if Alabama's playing Auburn and she's calling the game, I'm kind of like, okay, it is what it is. But I also feel like when you're calling a game, you need to have something special, and she lacks that. But she's makes up for that in different personality quirks that she has. So.
And you point out earlier in the segment that again, Tony Romo, Jay Cutler, Rex Ryan are all coming to the booth.
Seems crowded.
Yeah, and I'm
They're not working
I'm
for
almost
ESPN
concerned.
or Fox or CS.
I'm just saying, I'm almost concerned because with all these new people coming in, are they all gonna work? Because part of
I think
the issue, because you need to make sure that they're good,
Yes.
right? And
that's what the preseason's for.
I understand that, but when you're getting new people in every single broadcasting system,
Yep.
you're running the risk that if all of them turn out to be not so good, no one's going to watch them. You run that risk as well.
Right.
So, I think the timing was not good.
Mm-hmm. I think they should have done it
But
more gradually.
I would
Like
say
one a
warm
year,
it
like
up.
Jay
Yep.
Cutler, Tony Romo the next year, Beth Mowins, or whatever order works with ESPN. But all of them coming in one off season, they're not all ready to go into Fox, CBS. They're going to different ones. But it seems
And I wonder
rushed.
if ESPN was just trying to catch up with that too, just kind of get some
Because-
fresh face in. You know, I don't know.
So it was like CBS gets Tony Romo, Fox we get Jay Cutler, ESPN's like Beth Mowins, come on up.
That totally could be true, but we don't know.
We don't know.
because ESPN won't tell us. I mean, it's not like we're going to ESPN and asking.
It's not like ESPN. Did you hire Beth Mowins to keep up with the Joneses in the way that Jay Cutler and Tony Romo? What's your comment? They're not gonna ask. They're not gonna answer that question.
No, and I think it could have been part of the decision. Part of the decision also just could have been, she's been with us for a long time, and we should just give her a chance if she wants to do it.
Right.
Let's go for it. And who knows? It could be really good.
Could be really good.
Again, we're not against women having an
No.
unequal chance. It's just
There's some great women out there. Like Katie Nolan's gonna have. She had Garbage Time, and now she's gonna have an expanded role with Fox, which just shows that it doesn't matter your gender. If you can talk about sports and you have appealing voice, go ahead, shoot.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think female broadcasters can create a different variety that males can have because it creates this different flow of the room. It's
Yeah,
more interesting.
it could turn out to be really good.
Right.
We won't know until she calls the game.
We won't know.
So, yeah. Any last thoughts?
No.
All right.
It's reported that the NFL is to go to a 10-minute. Both teams have a chance to possess the football overtime. No sudden death. These are the new rules for the overtime. And I have some opinions about this. I flat out hate the new changes. Flat out hate it. The loss of 5 minutes isn't huge. It's not devastating, but it definitely is going to increase more ties. And seeing how the NFL reacted to the offensive disaster in Arizona, the 6-6 tie, the tie in London between the Redskins and somebody else. It's clear the NFL doesn't want ties. It's clear that people don't want ties. And reducing those 5 minutes will create more ties. And the thing that I have the biggest problem with is the fact that there is no more sudden death. This is a big deal. Because with sudden death, you get the ball first, you can end the play, you can end the game at one play. You can end the game, you can lose the game at one play. Matt Hasselbeck is famous for saying, I want the ball, I want to score. Because with that, meaning he goes on the field, he can drive down the field, score a touchdown. He doesn't, he throws a pick six. Game's over. The game would still be over in this new ruling because you still had the ball, you threw a pick, they had technically had a chance to possess the ball, the game's still over. But the Tebow, the miracle in Den Mile High, Tebow hits Demaryius Thomas for 75 yards. Wouldn't happen anymore. Pittsburgh would have another chance. Meaning in Super Bowl 51, if these new rules were in effect, New England would have to, the James White touchdown would not be the game winner. Matt Ryan would get another chance. So the whole sudden death thing, it's great. It creates this fear factor in the fans. The defense has to be on their toes. I can't just sit back and let the offense score. We need to stop here. It's amazing for the game. It's something that the game is missing during the regular 60 minutes. Because in hockey, you score a goal, there's no guarantee you get another one. There's no guarantee. In soccer, you score a goal after 45, you're up, you take a 1 goal lead into second half. You're feeling great. Because you score again, the game's over. Pretty much over. You're not coming back from 2 goals. It's rare.
In soccer,
it's rare. And football, you have a touchdown lead, you don't feel safe. They're going to come back and score. But in overtime, you kick a field goal, huge. Because you just have to stop them. You got to stop, the game's over. But if you only kick a field goal and they score a touchdown, you still lose. But I think it creates so much drama, tension, and hype. Because people lose their minds when on a game-winning play. Lose their minds. And that's something that's going to be lost with the loss of these new overall time rules. Now, I have a suggestion of how you could fix this. You can do what they do in college, which is a shootout. You start the ball on the 20-yard line. You have 4 plays to get into the end zone. If you don't get on, you can kick the field goal on your first play if you want to. You can get on your second play, your third play, or your fourth play. You don't have to kick a field goal. You can go for it all the times. You can run the ball, you can pass the ball. You can probably do a drop kick for the field goal. You can do all these different things. But if you score a touchdown, you kick the extra point, the other team has a chance to possess it at the 20-yard line. And they keep doing it. And then eventually, let's say they've done 4, then they have to go for 2, like what happened in the TCU-Oregon game a couple years ago in the Alamo Bowl. You have to go for 2. That means both teams have to go for 2. One team gets it, the other team then has to go for it, and they get it, they win the game. And then after that, I would suggest going to sudden death. If that doesn't work, you go somehow the Arizona game happens and you can't find a way to score, and it's a playoff game, then you should have a field goal kicking competition. Start at the 50-yard line, have a kicker keep field goal kicking, like you kick, the other team kicks, you kick. And knowing NFL kickers, you're not going to be waiting that long. Field goal takes, 8 seconds? And with NFL kickers, I don't know many NFL kickers that are going to be accurate, consistent, that many times in a row. Vinatieri, Justin Tucker, Dan Bailey, maybe Lambo, Mason Crosby. There's not many kickers in the NFL that are consistent time and time again to the point where you can just have this game going on forever. So I understand why the NFL is trying to end the game, but I think they're actually going to create more ties. It's going to create the opposite effect. And if this is a playoff game, the problem is with this, now everyone has a chance to possess the football. The Larry Fitzgerald miracle Green Bay would have another shot. The little shovel pass to win the game and score. Aaron Rodgers would have another chance to go down the field and win the game. Now win the game, tie the game, and then you'd keep playing. But I think doing that will just make it uneventful because you're like, okay, if you have a good offense and your defense gives a touchdown to Matt Ryan, Drew Brees is like, okay, I'll just go downfield and score. And Drew Brees has said he doesn't want this. He wants more time because he wants to boost his stats. But if you're an underdog, let's say you're Cleveland and you manage to bring the Dallas Cowboys to overtime. And Cody Kessler somehow finds Corey Coleman deep for a touchdown to complete coverage break. And the Cowboys score and win the game. That wouldn't happen. Dak Prescott would have a chance to drive down the field and win the game. It's a problem, and I don't think it's good for the NFL. Or let's say the Rams game. The last time the Seahawks played the Rams in the Rams Stadium in St. Louis, where the Rams went down the field, kicked a field goal. And then kicked the field goal. The Seahawks came down to a 4th down, and they had to go for it because they kicked the field goal. And that, if you have a chance to possess the ball, it gets rid of some of that drive that football has. I don't know. Those are just some of my opinions.
I like what you said on some of your points. I have some thoughts on some of your other points. My thought on this new shift to overtime rules. I'm not a fan of it. I think this move to the new overtime rules is further pushing for an offensive-driven league. Because when you had sudden death, your defense needed to step up if the other offense got the ball first.
Right.
And that pushed coaches, GMs, to get a good defense.
Yep.
But now, if both teams get a chance, you just need a sufficient defense to hold them to a field goal, and then your offense goes and scores a touchdown.
Question. There's 32 teams in the league. How many sufficient defenses are there? And what is a sufficient defense?
What I'm saying is you need a good enough defense to force them to a field goal.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Give the people out there listening an example of a sufficient defense.
Detroit Lions.
Okay.
They have, they got Darius Slay. They got
Baller.
Ziggy Ansah. I mean, they can make some plays at sometimes, but sometimes they're just not there. And that's an example that I give as a sufficient defense. Another example, Green Bay defense would be somewhat along that lines.
Really? Did you watch the Washington game? Did you watch that?
No, I did. But what I'm saying is,
was it Crowder, Garcon, Crowder?
If they
or
have,
was it Garcon, Crowder,
just be quiet for a second. Let me have my. You had your time. I get my time.
Oh, okay. You run the show now. Okay.
So what I'm saying is, I mean, Green Bay, whatever. You can say, they're not as efficient defense. But if they're healthy and they've got everyone there, they can force to a field goal.
Okay.
So those are some examples. And that's to the point of, this is becoming an offensive-driven league. You need a good defense. Mm-hmm. Look at the Green Bay Packers. Their defense, not stellar. Not really good either. Sufficient at times. But you look at their offense. I mean, they've got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and if you give Aaron Rodgers a chance in overtime, he's going to score. Did you not? I'm sure you did. But you saw what he did to Dallas, right, in that NFC Championship game? It wasn't an overtime, but he was on fire.
It's Dallas's defense, though.
But it's Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. But that Dallas defense was bad.
But what I'm saying is, what the point is if you get Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and it's an offensive shootout. They're just going back and forth and back and forth.
New England's going to win. They have more depth offensively.
I'm just creating a scenario.
Okay.
When you get that shootout, that's not going to help ratings at all. No one's going to want to watch them go back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, there's a tiny bit of fear factor, but the fear factor really comes in when sudden death occurs. And I think the 15 minutes with sudden death was great. I didn't have a problem with it. I really liked it. But this new adaptation rules that they're going to implement, not good. Not good for ratings, for fans, because it's only 10 minutes. But still, again, like you said, it's going to increase ties. Because increase the amount of ties. Because you get teams like Dallas that continuously run the ball, right?
Yeah.
And they run the ball for 10 minutes and they score. Well, now the other team's got 3 minutes to do it, so they're going to fast pace, get down there, the clock goes out, tied.
It wouldn't be a tie, because.
No, I'm saying they score. I'm saying they score again.
Yeah. Okay.
So then it would be a tie. And that's going to increase the number of ties because then there is no tiebreaker. But with sudden death, and that there is that tiebreaker, I guess. And then because then if you have a sudden death and they really tie, then there's a tie, right? Because they had the chance to win, and, they just tied.
It's kind of cool, too.
Yeah.
There's something unique about ties. They're kind of different. Like when Carolina tied with the Bengals. We're just like, I didn't know what to think. Was okay.
But
we didn't
but
lose.
if a tie happened in this new overtime thing, I would be disappointed. I really would be.
I think it changes your philosophy because in the old time, if you tied, that shows tremendous passion, work ethic, and the fact
both teams.
And the fact that you were committed, that you gave it everything you possibly had, and that the NFL schedulers did a great job because these two teams were so evenly matched that they tied. It's an NFL win for the schedulers. Great job scheduling. If you two teams tied, that means you were perfectly evenly matched. Great. And these new rules, you are so sorry. So pathetic. You had a chance to score. You had a chance to score on defense. You had a chance to score special teams, and you couldn't do it. That's pathetic. They can kick 60 yards field goals. You can't even get in field goal range. Pathetic. Pathetic. It's pathetic.
And honestly, I do like when they go in the, I guess now they're the old overtime rules with sudden death, with coin flip. I enjoyed that part of it too, because you're sitting there in anticipation. You're watching the game.
Right.
You're into the game. But now I'm not going to be into the game. I can just check in on my phone and be like, oh, they scored. And then, oh, they didn't score. Oh, cool, game over. Or whatever. Because there's no factor that makes me want to watch it. And it doesn't want to make me cheer for my team. Because there are times last year where I was watching some games. And I was standing. And I was moving, high blood pressure. And just, it was tense. Because it was sudden death.
Yep.
And I really cared about the game.
That's good.
To watch it more.
That's good.
And with these new rules, that's going to decrease that feeling.
Yes.
Going back to the coin toss. I like the coin toss as well because it's an unbiased way of determining who gets the ball first.
Let's just, but we're on the coin toss flip. There was a coin toss controversy 2 years ago, I believe it was, between the New York Jets and the New England Patriots, where Matthew Schrader, the captain of the special teams for the Patriots, called one thing, and there was a different call, and the ball, and anyway, basically the gist of it is, there was a conversation mishap, and the coin was flipped, and the Jets got the ball, and the Jets went down the field and scored and won the game, which is great. I'm a Jets fan, but it creates this tension, you have to be on your toes.
Right, yeah.
With this new coin top flip thing, whatever. Jets scored. Wow, great job, Eric Decker.
Oh yeah, now
because
then it doesn't reward teams for actually breaking the defense.
No, doesn't reward them, and it's really sad. An example is when the coin was flipped in the Super Bowl 51. I was literally sweating because I went, if Atlanta wins the coin toss, they could win this game. Atlanta's gonna win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady might not be the greatest quarterback ever. I'm like, what? I was literally sitting up going, what? They might win. They might do it. And Matt Ryan was going, if we get the ball, we've been beating them like a drum. We can do this. And then I see it and New England gets it. I'm just like, yeah, this game's over. This game's over. New England goes down the field. Tom Brady makes some great throws, slows it up to Martellus Bennett, drops it, and then the James White touchdown, and Chris Hogan acts like a 5-year-old. Running over like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah. And like you said, there could be, as we mentioned before, methods to improve things. But I don't think there were many issues with this overtime. I don't know why the NFL decided to get rid of it.
Oh.
Or change it, I guess.
What do you like? What do you think of the college? How they have it in college?
I don't like the shootout.
Really?
No.
Really? Why not?
I believe that because it's your 20, like the opposing 20-yard line, right? So you're in the red zone. Yeah, I don't like that because then it puts the defense in a really bad situation. Because, I mean, you get Julio Jones or, for instance, if we implemented it into the NFL, you get Julio Jones or Mike Evans and do a fade and it's over.
What about if you put him against Open Follow, who's 6'4"?
Well, then you just put a guy on a slant and he's open.
Good point.
The shootout and this new overtime thing, what's really bothering me is that the NFL is going, and college football is going very offensive driven.
Right.
Very offensive driven. And I don't like that. I really want to make sure that there's a balanced part to the game.
I think I like what you're saying about the balance. I completely agree with you about the balance. I completely disagree with you about the college thing. But I think college has been offensively dominant for a while now. With the spread, with Chip Kelly.
College has always been really offensive dominant.
Read option, shovel option, speed option. Look at Army. They have, 6 pass plays? All different read options, shovel options. And it works for them. So I think the college thing might not work because you have the Gronkowskis of the world. I'm just going to do 6'4". Gronkowski's 6'7"? Lob.
Yeah.
Over an inside linebacker, that's a touchdown. Every time.
And I wouldn't be opposed to moving the ball back, say, to the 50-yard line for a shootout. And you're getting 5-6 plays. Because
I think it should
what my issue is, let's say you built a defense with a stellar secondary or whatever, and they really thrive when the team is back at their own 20.
Mm-hmm.
That element's gone when they're shooting out from the red zone.
So like a vintage Oilers or a vintage Bills.
Right. And I wouldn't be opposed to the 50-yard line because then you're giving the defense an advantage, but you're also giving the offense advantage, right? Because they're at the midfield.
What about 3 plays from the 45-yard line? 3 plays. Not 4, 3.
From the 35, did you say?
45-yard line.
45?
You can go for a touchdown. So you can do like a slant and then like a double move, try to get into the end zone on 3rd down. You go for the win or you go for the field goal.
Again, I'm just not a fan of the 20-yard line.
There
could be changes.
Maybe the 35, but if you put it at the 50, you still have Aaron Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Wilson, Newton, Winston, Breeze, Ryan. Flick it from
But then it's more of a game feel. It almost seems like if we implemented that in the NFL and it would be over in one play.
Right.
They could just run it up the gut or just pass it to the guy with the Gronkowskis of the world.
And then the other team has a chance to possess the ball.
Right. So, I mean, that's what I think. I think that the NFL is really trying to go offensive driven and try to get. I also think that the sudden death in this move is in order to limit injuries. The 10 minutes decreased it from 15 to 10.
Exactly. The Alamo Bowl I was talking about. The game went on for like 4-5 hours or something like that, and there was all these crampings and because it was also really hot. It was in San Antonio. No, San Antonio. I'm talking about. It was in Texas.
Whatever.
And there was all these injuries because it was so warm out, and players were cramping and pulling muscles because of the heat. So they had to be stretching and stuff like that. So I don't know if the 30 or the 45-yard line would work, but fans love a shootout. The 2009 game between Aaron Rodgers and Kurt Warner, the gunslinger in the desert, 52-49 or something like that. Was it? I think it was 45-51. I believe it was.
I'm not saying I'm against shootouts, but I'm against shootouts when they're in the red zone. You set them up in the red zone. Because then it's almost like you're disregarding defense.
I think it actually...
In my view.
Actually, I think that can be used as a counter-argument because it's saying this defense... Let's use the Broncos. You put the Giants against the Broncos in the 20-yard line. That's like saying, Von Miller, we know you're great, but can you be great when Odell Beckham all he has to do is keep the lead on a quick slant? Can you be great fast enough? Can you beat that tackle fast enough? I think it says if you believe in a defense that much, like Wade Phillips believed in his guys and believed that his guys could win one-on-one. Didn't matter how long they had. But it also says that I have trust in my defense. Okay. They're on the 20-yard line. Who cares? Just let them score. They kick a field goal, we go on the field, score a touchdown, we win. We get an interception. It's huge. Huge. In the way this works, you get an interception, it's huge. Huge.
Well, the point is that this new overtime rules, no, they're not good.
No,
they're not good for the NFL.
They're terrible.
The they really could have done anything else with the sudden death sort of feel, because the sudden death really provides, like you said, a fear factor or a factor that's gonna pull someone to the TV or in the stands.
Right.
You know, they're gonna stay. They're gonna want to watch, because if you really enjoy watching a team, you're gonna watch if it's sudden death. But if they're gonna go on and go back and forth, why would you want to watch?
I think, well, why would you want to watch? Because people love offense. That's why they love that game so much, because they scored like 45 points. The shootout in New Orleans with Eli Manning and Drew Brees, they just kept going and going and going and going and going. I mean, granted, the Lil Lutz hit the game-winning field
I'm
goal.
talking specifically about
Overtime.
Yeah.
You've been there for a couple hours. I don't know. I think maybe because you care about the players and there's a chance. I think what you're saying is you assume that players are going to score. You're assuming that those offenses are going to continue to create.
Well, but that's what the NFL's put. That's the message I'm getting from this move.
Mm-hmm.
Is that offense is just going to keep going.
Right.
Because, yeah. And that's why they got rid of sudden death, because it's like, well, we got to give both chances, because they would both score with the first one. So we don't want it to be only up to the coin toss.
Sounds like a lot of salty Falcons fans. Sounds like some salty Steelers fans. Sounds like some salty Patriot fans.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so this overtime thing's a mess. I think they should have just left it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't touch it.
No, exactly. Any last thoughts?
It's a problem. It's going to do the exact opposite what they tried to do. I don't think it's going to be helpful. I think fans are now going to leave, like you said. I think it's going to force defenses to be great, which is important. But I don't see it being dramatic, being engaging, drawing, inclusive in the sense of I have to stay, because in the old rules they could end it with a kickoff return. They could end it on a screen route to the house. The game can end at any time. That's really unique and it's great. And it adds something else that the regular 60 minutes doesn't have. And now once you do it this way, it's now the game's just basically 70 minutes.
Yeah, and that's not a great move for the NFL. We want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. We did miss last week, but that's all right. We got back on the track this week. We do have an Instagram page and a Twitter page if you want to follow us on that. Thanks for listening, and enjoy your week.